going to come in not necessarily expectedly. I think Harp had some subpar moments, but the last game that Zeus had to me looked relatively suspect. I'm happy that Blank is back though, because even though I think Gideon had a great Trundle game, we've seen this exact thing happen with KT previous during spring, where they sub out Blank for what isn't really a clear reason, and then they just lose a lot. So I'm happy to see them go back to Blank. I'm not sure about Zeus, especially with how much 5kid and his bot lane partner in Harp already got bullied. That has been one of the very few consistent things. It's Doran finds a way to carry team fights, that's one. And secondly is Taeyun and June absolutely body the bot lane. And one of those two things is probably going to be enough here for either team. But as you pointed out after that last game, it was mayhem. And not mayhem in a good way.
Yeah.
It was just mayhem. And
just mayhem indeed.
At least for DRX, go back to the same draft. Because even though the execution wasn't there, I still think it is a much higher chance of working out for you than a normal, kind of hard to execute damage top laner style of composition is going to.
Well, KT did select red side this time around, so will be a little bit different, at least in the champions that get selected. You could always try to force some kind of draft. I don't think Ornn is going to get banned or anything like that. But very curious to see where DRX do land after that game. And if KT can keep their mental together after that one. You know, you talked a little bit about the subs. I wouldn't have even minded to see Noah come in, but I suppose they wanted to sub in a couple of guys, especially after a game like that. You kind of want to just give some of the players a rest and say, okay, like that wasn't it. We all know it. Just, you know, we'll see you next time.
Full reset. That's what you need. After that last game, and immediately, hey, this buys you a Rumble ban. And this probably should have happened earlier in a fresh ban, because June has looked incredible. Even in the match that they lost, Taeyun and June were exquisite, and also means that you don't necessarily have to ban away the Aphelios. Viego first pick open here, but so is the Lee. And that is a pick that can be played in lane, but I'm personally a bigger fan of playing it in the jungle, and that would give Pioshik some incentive to make plays early, which I think is a good look for DRX.
Yeah, it could definitely be. They could also look towards Jet, a guy who has played it a lot in the lane, even after some of the changes, I think on 11-14. Doran says, well, this time Jace is available. They weren't able to ban it on blue side for game number 2, like they did in game number 2, so they will just take it up here. Jace and Diana actually being hovered here for Blank.
You know the way, DRX. 2 champions you can lock in. That they're waiting there for you. Please do not let this Jace blind go. There's no Aphelios fresh to be picked up. No bait for you to sink your teeth in. Really like the Diana pick. Diana mostly ignored in the previous rounds. But Blank in particular has had great performances on it. And I think the champion as a whole is just still incredibly strong. As yeah, there might not be Aphelios, but Kalista Leona is a possibility. Kalista Gragas is another one that I wouldn't mind, especially into a Diana. Or you just pick just a Kalista and then you pick a champion that does well to Jace, so it doesn't get banned. And then you're feeling great, because Kingen has a matchup that he actually can have agency in. That will be lovely, but can go in... Okay, yeah, it will be the Gragas pickup, so assume it's going to be for June, but there is the small but distinct possibility of it going to Pioshik.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to wait and see where the picks do go. Some flexible picks, but kind of also face up and where they're very likely to go. What is going to be the final pick here for KT? Do you even want to focus on the bottom lane at all, or just pick for Dove? And it looks like the answer will be, let's take Aphelios this time. So after going into the Aphelios a couple of games in a row, they take it themselves.
And expect KT to ban the Wukong again. They did this last time. They blinded the Jace. And I would see no reason to stray away from that here either. And the Aphelios pickup, I think, does make a lot of sense. Does well into a lot of characters that are going to try and dive on top of him. Without the Fresh, as you pointed out, not as effective as it might otherwise be, but compare it with a Leona or a Nautilus, and you can still use a lot of the offensive capabilities rather well. Will be a lot more susceptible to displacement coming through from an exploding cask, so that's a big win. Haven't even talked about the Dragon's Rage, which is also applicable there. As again, these set bans come through, and that's of course because Dove has been a huge fan of the set, had really been liking that pick, picking up consistently even in its currently weakened state, as there is the Brom ban, which would have been insane, both with the Aphelios and also into DRX's comp.
But as you mentioned, you can just easily pick up the Leona. You'll be fine with that. It's still a strong support. Can peel decently well, not amazingly, but can also offer you some attacking power alongside of your Diana and the Jace already. And they're going to save that counter pick for most likely the mid lane, as there he is again. CV Max went up to King and he's like, your Ornn is the best Ornn, you should play that again. And they do agree that that is going to be the choice and their best option for this game. As the Gwen will be entering the jungle, it looks like, with the Lee Sin for Jet this time around.
Not the biggest fan of Lane Lee. Feel like that pick has been repeatedly nerfed in ways where it really does hurt. Can't believe Ryze made it through the entire draft. Not a champion that we've really touched upon, but definitely one that you're happy to take here. Do gotta say that the KT comp to me feels a little bit disjointed, whereas the DRX comp is very versatile. The one weak spot would be that Pyosik is on a champion that doesn't really allow him to impact the early game. But outside of that, you know, the weak side kind of weak, but your bot side is feeling quite strong. Lee and Gwen still have great 2v2 dueling potential. Jet can opt into some MR, which is really going to be effective into the double AP mid-jungle duo. So in that regard, it's quite nice. KT does have a composition with a lot of raw power, but to me, it doesn't really come together as well. Like, you can play very aggressively if you do finally engage with a Diana Leona, but then is Ryze in a good position, you know? Is Jace already able to do the damage? Aphelios really prefers to kite back, which is going to be hard into the composition that is provided here from DRX. But as we've seen in this series, Valdez, compositions are made up and don't matter at all. It's all about the execution. So I'm going to withhold any form of judgment until we actually get into game.
Probably a good idea, I would say.
I've learned, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. I'm personally a bit of a fan of this draft here on the side of KT. I think it has a lot of ways to go. And, you know, you bring in that Jace once again for Doran. You even get the Ryze, which is pretty high tier at this point in time, onto Dove. I think you get your two main carries onto something they should be comfortable and onto great champions in general. Even just with that, alongside of the nice scaling they have. I think they have a recipe for success this time.
I like it. And in terms of early game power, this should be another one where KT has a lot of edges. Obviously, Doran gonna have a lot of power over Kingen, control of the lane there. With Kingen, especially early on, really gonna get bullied by the Jace, who also went for Conqueror to empower him even more in the longer trades. Jet early on gonna be really dangerous for Dove, but as long as he can stay away from any all-in and they can keep a decent track of Pyosik, shouldn't be too worried. And bot lane, I think it should be relatively even with a slight edge for Taeyun and June, but with how that matchup has been going today, expect them to get bodied. Don't know if just the introduction of Zeus is going to be enough to make that matchup a little bit better. And at least there should be no face checking here. I say.
You say.
As.
And then.
No, he wouldn't.
Oh, he would.
No.
Oh,
there
okay.
we go. Very
Nicely done.
nice.
Yeah, gets the scan out. He knows the danger.
He knows.
He knows Pog.
Yep.
Gets it. And yeah, should be fine there at the level 1. Not going to take any big burst damage here. First pick for 5Kid, actually, on the Aphelios. He's played, let me see here exactly how many games. Looks like 8 so far. 6 before the series, and this is his 9th game, and finally pulls out the Aphelios. Becoming more and more popular here.
It's one of those picks that we rate relatively highly. Whereas in some other regions there are, you know, regional varieties in terms of what AD carries are preferred. Kalista, also one of course here in the LCK, has not even just popularity, but like in a lot of series against a lot of players, is just permanently banned. Ruler, of course, the most easy example there to give. It's nice to see. Doctam, of course, king of Aphelios that we have currently, and a relatively slow-paced early game is something I think either team can welcome here. As KT, you are looking to get at least Blank to level 6. You know, maybe get a Solar Flare available. Doran's going to be fine in the top side anyway, and as long as he keeps vision and they keep an idea of where Pioshik is, he should be fine to just push in relentlessly. Wouldn't have mind a different pathing from Pioshik, but this is consistent with what both of these two teams have done in the entirety of the matchups today, which is just get bot lane ahead if you are DRX and watch bot lane crumble if you are KT. And as Blank is probably going to go for a full clear. I expect you should just pay a visit, but with the prio that's available on bot side, I don't think that Blank can actually go for that bot side scuttle. Taeyeon is backing though, but I think it should just be given up. Wonder whether they're actually going to go for it, but no. We'll spot that out and presumably give that one up.
Yeah. Even seeing the smite, he's too far out of range, so he just goes straight up to the top side here, top of the river. Just going to take that top one. This time around, Doran did go for the call once again. Did it on the Kennen in game number 2. And this time on the Jace, he can do a very similar thing, where he does a bunch of bullying, a nice amount of damage to the turret. The Ornn kind of just has to take it a little bit. It's pretty decent at, you know, part of the reason why Ornn, especially in the past, was so popular was that tanks were decent in the meta, but also Ornn provided so much to your team, and he was very good into a lot of normally very annoying and hard to handle matchups, whereas some other champions were not able to do that. So he comes back here once again, even though he has received nerfs from the past. And he'll always essentially be decent. He'll always survive the lane, at least.
I am glad we're not in a permanent Ornn meta when they inexplicably were like, yeah, you know what, we'll just shave off a level of when you get your ornaments. That'll be fine. As it turns out, it was not fine, and it was raised again after a bunch of patches. But I do like him to be in a position where you can pick him up, and if you get away with it, he provides a lot of value to your team. Nicely the body slam that earlier on from June as well, which is exactly why he picked the Gragas. When the Zenith Blade comes in, you just boot her away. And in this case, obviously, was opted into by KT. So KT also very well aware that in terms of what you're going to do in the lane, it's not going to be that amazing. Pioshik had a small lead in terms of clearing, so you can also see that here. Nothing to really get excited about, but just wants to hit 6. And then PvE for a little bit longer. Peanut also comes to mind as he's going to try and clear a ward here, but glad he's not being greedy because Jet, not 6 quite yet.
Yeah, push was coming in from the Rise, and you can see Blank actually even placing another control ward in their deep. As the Dragon is up, but they're not going to go for it just yet. Zeus and 5Kid having a much better time of this lane after the way a couple of games have gone, which is nice to see. And yeah, we're just kind of hanging out. As you said, you know, this is kind of a welcome thing for, I think, a lot of the players and probably some of us riding the roller coasters of games 1 and 2. Let's see who makes the first move.
Interesting here is that Jet has gone for, instead of maxing his Q, he's gone for 2 points in Q and 2 points in W, which will add him just a little bit of extra sustain and shielding than you would otherwise have, which of course in this range matchup is going to feel quite nice. It does take away a little bit of the all-in power, but Dove hasn't really exposed himself to any form of all-in at all, and Pioshik also not really looking to do anything right now. Just looking to clear as much as he can. First Drake gets picked up by KT, but it's just a single Cloud Drake. It's not something that's going to break open this game, and as we've seen today, Valdez, I don't know what road we have ahead of us, but it will surely be one that's full of twists and turns.
Yeah, that's the expectation. I think this is the, you know, the very basic path. You know, it's got some stones on it. It's not too rough or windy, but we'll get there. Pioshik is hanging around the top side, and with an Ornn, again, you have very reliable engage. You can try to at least get the flash out of Doran here, as Pioshik is around.
Ignite available.
Yeah. Taking the unsealed spellbook by Kingen. But Blank gets up here and they say, well, no, we're just not going to go for it now. And they will back off of that play.
And not just that, in 10 seconds, Rift Herald will spawn, and there is a full-on skirmish at the ready ears. Taeyun. Yeah, that's not a matchup you win. 5 kid.
Yeah. Don't force that one. He did hit level 6. Nice knock up here now on a Doran. He has to flash away. As the Realm Warp does come in from Dove, he's looking to potentially trade back some damage. But that will be about it. And now the flashless Jace, who also doesn't have teleport, needs to back. And so Pioshik's going to say, well, I guess I can just start the Rift Herald then.
Nice catch, and it's Kingen on the Ornn that actually sets that up. Doran getting a bit greedy and trying to posture aggressively there. Kingen can also TP back immediately, having used his summoner offensively there. And that is a free Rift Herald, which should put DRX on a track to get a little bit more even in gold. A couple of plates being picked up. If they can get a dive on someone on KT, might even get more of it out of it rather. But I don't think that's happening with the pace this game has gone so far, Valdez, because it's been leisurely gameplay.
Yes.
It's laid back.
It's like all these guys have been playing solo queue all night, and now it's 4 a.m. And they're just like, well,
it's one more game.
We've had some crazy stuff happen today, but now we're just going to relax. We're just going to farm it out.
Just going to want to farm some minions. It's just satisfying seeing the numbers go up.
Yeah, generally is nice when the numbers do go up. And yeah, it's funny, we had the longest first blood actually in a game with DRX. I think the first one was Live Sandbox versus DRX, and then we had...
Wasn't it DRX Fred Brion? That sounds like it will make sense to me.
No, Live Sandbox DRX, I think in round 1, they went for 21 minutes without a first blood. And that was almost as long as the shortest game we had, which was
oh yeah,
Dom1
versus... I remember that.
Here.
Against DRX, probably?
No, against... Oh, no, you're right, yeah. Against DRX, 22 minutes. So it was like 30 seconds faster than the longest first blood. And it was funny because when Live Sandbox faced off against DRX again in round 2, I think we went for 17 minutes without a first blood. As this time, maybe we're going to get our first blood, as a lot of action is coming in now. As Jet has to flash away, he doesn't get a whole lot done. As the engage here from DRX, not really working out too well. Thankfully, they have Taeyun to get the Fate's Call down. But here comes the follow-up, as Pioshik will also be taken out. And now the Realm Warp even, as KT are really getting in there. They want to extend this lead as far as possible, and that will be 3 kills straight into their pocket.
And it is a very decisive move from DRX, but not one they can actually back up. They don't have the vision, they don't have the control, and they're hard engaging onto someone who might have reinforcements in the way, and as it turns out, they do. They're missing one of their most reliable sources of CC, in this case, the Ornn, and if you use absolutely everything in an attempt to kill Blank, that's fine, but then he actually needs to die, and it feels like the damage just isn't there. Blank immediately flashes out, and then the re-engage comes through. Your Hallowed Mist does nothing. Pioshik throws a bunch of needles into the ether, and that means that you just get blown up in this extended trade. You had no vision, and if you know he has flash, you need to perfectly execute that. Like, he needs to die within that initial combo.
Yeah.
Because otherwise this happens. And the okay position that you were in, now a lot less okay. This is really greedy.
Yeah, they're going to try for it once again, but look at the follow-up. The Moonfall is gigantic as Blank will pick up the kill. And now you can see DRX just getting a little bit desperate, trying to find whatever engage they can. And KT, time and time again, twice now in a row, they have been able to shut it down very easily.
And it's a lack of flexibility on DRX's side, because that play was fine when you initially looked for it, which is a while ago. Yeah, better run 5-kid. That's not a position you want to be in again.
This fight is still going on.
He's fine. Like, he has a summoners available. Worst case, he needs to use them, but he should never die here, especially with shield bow up. And with Gravitum, can he even lock down Taeyun? If he can find that, but doesn't actually want to go for it. But Dove is here.
Yeah, and Dove, 1-0 and 2. And oh boy, they're going to get the root down, and that is going to be the follow-up from Dove. Very easily done. No vision in the jungle. No respect for Ryze leaving the lane. And down he will go. At least DRX will get a nice little charge into the mid lane, but that is it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's even close to enough. DRX just not really getting anything to go right. It says they go in on Blank.
Here we go. They do have 3 members, but Blank very expertly dodges a lot, leaving Zeus out to dry. But Blank will survive, I suppose, by the end of it.
Zeus going down there for Blank, his sins getting taken out. 5-kid, meanwhile, going to town on the turret with Crescendum available means that plenty of blades will go his way. As it's a messy game, but it's DRX constantly forcing. And the topside play, you can't do that if you don't know where the enemy is, right? And the entirety of KT was already rotating, then you just get caught underneath the turret. There's another beautiful moonfall that comes through from Blank. And it is something that I've seen now again and again from DRX, where they look to go in hard on the play because it seemed like a good idea a couple of minutes ago. But it doesn't. You don't have the vision. There the ward goes down, but you need to make sure and check that before you actually hard commit to it, because you just give up so many free kills for no reason. It's exactly the same mistake they made in the jungle. And then this one is just a nice rotation from Dove. 5-kid being very aware of where his teammate is, just staying a little bit in range, like maybe you can go for me, maybe you can try and 1v1 me. As, yeah, here Blank. It's an okay moonfall. Uses June to get out of a awkward situation, but not before Zeus is like, I'm trying to help my teammate, and the teammate then just then says goodbye. And
Blank's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I don't actually want to be a part of this.
Like, on paper, it feels good because you keep the streak going on the Diana. You don't get the shutdown over DRX,
yeah.
But at the same time, Zeus probably could have lived. So,
oh yeah,
you know, if you're trading your Leona for the Diana instead, it feels good, but also he could have just lived. So either way, trying to be the hero was Zeus. And at the end of the day, KT do have a very sizable lead at this point that it should not matter. Even 3 plates going into 5-kid, I believe alone as well. Maybe one of them was with Zeus, but he's doing well himself for not being all too involved in the fights so far. 1-0 and 2-3 plates. Feeling pretty good. Yes, DRX will pick up the second Rift Herald, but that is about it.
And I wonder how much DRX can actually get done here. Because if they can rotate this and turn this into a first turret block, they can stem some of the bleeding. They're 4.5k gold behind. 15 minutes is an incredible amount. And it looks like they might actually be the one getting Dove. They know Dove is coming as well. And yeah, you're just going to have to sack the turret. But once you start sacking all your outers, that's a snowball that doesn't really relent. Pioshik gets spotted here, both by Doran and also on the ward. And yeah, Doran probably has to give up this turret, but it's a trade. You trade evenly for the turret, and with the back from Zeus coming through, even if you use the Herald here, you might get 1 charge. And that's okay, you know, that gets you the second turret, not the first turret blood, and another charge is not coming through. Like, look at the amount of contestants coming through. Everyone from KT is ready, and they're just consistently denying, almost denying the charge there even. Any form of recourse from DRX, who are now 4.5k gold behind still. It's It's not looking good, Valdez, but with how today has gone, does it matter? Is that enough for KT?
Well,
it should be.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, guys, you know, these games have been insane and very back and forth, and it's been a wild roller coaster so far for this first series. But keep in mind that, I mean, KT still have a way to make playoffs, right? Like, they could win this with one of the messiest 2-1 victories we've ever seen and then make playoffs. That could happen, right? Just keep that in mind because, I mean, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence, right? I think kind of the play we've been seeing so far kind of speaks for itself, but at the same time, it should be mentioned that, you know, if KT go into playoffs like this and they have to play off against the third-place team who would absolutely take them in the first round of the bracket, it's gonna be a 3-0. That's just gonna be the way it goes. So, KT, you got to put in your best performance and try to figure out what's going wrong, and hope that with your slight chance, which gets ever so slightly not as good with the 2-1 victory instead of the 2-0, by the way. You just got to hope that Afrika lose all their games. Life are able to take down only Afrika and lose to T1. And then you can get in. And also you have to win your next couple of games on top of this. This is their easiest opponent by far. Should be no surprise as DRX is in 10th. As, okay, now we're looking to dive as the Q will miss. Pyosik is still getting to work on a Dove, but Dove, surprisingly tanky, still has flash and the stopwatch. He is totally fine and will just walk away.
Cannot miss those Qs if you want to be able to get a kill. Especially with limited wave available there and the amount of wave that Rise has. Another mechanical misexecution from DRX, now becoming a more consistent issue. Because there's a lot of criticism. Dove is still here, but reinforcements are coming.
Yeah.
Get out of here, DRX.
Careful.
It's even with the criticism, I think, that we've had today of DRX, I feel like it's the first game where we're also seeing an amount of like very big mechanical misplays, whereas previously it felt much more macro-related, you know, positioning, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But here now, this missed Q, it's unfortunate, because these are exactly the type of plays that as DRX you want to have succeed. Because if you find a kill on Dove there, that's a big shutdown that goes over to either PO, Shik, or Jet, inject some gold into them, takes away some of the control that KT have on the map, because with how it's looking right now, I don't think a contest is looking very likely. You're pre a couple of really big spikes, second item on Taeyun, which is incredibly important for the Kalista. King is not level 13 yet, so he doesn't have his upgraded mythic yet. And Jet also only sitting on a single item. But at the same time, you can't really give up as Infernal Sword Point. Giving up Infernal Drake to this KT comp. We saw in game number 1 what happened. Sure, they had more poke back then, but they also didn't really have a gold lead. Now they do. And that is a risky proposition, so I'm liking this teleport. King and also just now dinging 13, and they still have a great front-to-back team fight. Such a big gold lead, though. KT.
If King could just block every accelerated shock blast,
they're fine.
They could do it. It'll be golden for DRX.
Just block everything.
Yeah. Easy. Oh, okay. Well,
I
take it back. Never mind. Let's just rewind the tape. Taeyun, shield bow will have to try to sustain back up.
Speedy Kingen used his ghost.
Yeah.
Zoom in.
He's got flash up now. And yeah, it looks like KT are just going to get to work here. They're going to try to zone them away. Ooh. As Jet is on the backside. Looks like he did avoid the shock blast. And a huge amount of damage already here from KT. They just got to deny the steal, essentially. Maybe look for the turn. As the Gravitum Moonlight Vigil is available. Could maybe look to do that as Doran is turning now onto Jet as they really want to get onto this Lee Sin. And 5Kid is left all alone, but no follow-up there as there is the Moonlight Vigil that does come in. But the Wombo combo from both teams actually as KT are now on the forefront. Dove just zoning everybody away with their low health bars. But at the same time, 4 people will live. They get the dragon. 5Kid will live as the knockup misses. What am I watching? As Jet is jumping in now. 4 of them could have gotten away, but instead, 3 of them go back in and give their lives over. Okay, DRX, you got the Infernal. That, at least, is good.
I get it. If that knock-up hits, you take such a big bounty with you back to your base. You can spend it on nice and shiny things. But as you're saying, you've committed the perfect crime. You somehow won a team fight while being as far down as you were, thanks to KT's somewhat questionable decision to go really ham on the Lee Sin. And that, yeah, this is a great moonfall. The damage is impressive, but it's not enough. And then they're chasing very far. Unfortunately, Blank does get blown up, which means that Pioshik secures that Drake. And oh my god, what? I get okay. Now I just feel bad for Kingen. That is. Remember when Khan dashed through half a turret?
Yeah, I remember.
나 철갑공 있어. 철갑공 있어.
Somewhat similar. Unfortunately, yeah, Jet then also goes.
바론 가자. 바론 가자. 안 돼, 안 돼?
And he's like, let's go Baron. Can we do it? And it looks like they do go to Baron. They will take it down. And they absolutely were able to do it eventually after regrouping all of their members. Now KT up about, 8,500 gold, looking for the engage. They find Taeyun, really fantastic body slam, as that will deny a lot of the bite out of the engage. But at this point, as the famous Atlas would said, they're smacking them with their wallets. And that is going to be the end of DRX here in this game, as Kingen is still alive. But even with the death timers as they are, you deny his back, you look for the inhibitor. They might stop there. We'll see how they go, as this one-on-one is very much entertaining. Doran decides, no, we're not going to dive the turret. And they will take down the inhibitor.
It's not over yet, because we're 23 minutes in game. So the death timers are actually really short. The only reason why this looks a little bit close for like a second is because there's a really nice cancel here and a great zoning ultimate there from Kingen. Unironically zoning, because it actually means that 5K has to like really back away there, not to get blown up, but God.
I thought with the Baron they could have just pushed and ended, but I guess they didn't quite have the damage.
They had to actually go through the turret, which is also, of course, a big. And again, it's like 23 minutes. Like death timers are very short. It is, however, a 10k gold lead, and generally with 10k gold leads, we'd say that's going to be it. That's going to be the end of the game. But I'm not 100% sure about that one.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, okay?
We've lost some faith in some of what seem to be the certainties of League of Legends here today, Valdes. But that shouldn't hold us back, because if played out reasonably, KT win the fight coming up soon. They pick up a Drake, get soul points. Pioshik just runs at them.
Yeah, Pioshik has had enough. And yeah, he'll use the miss to avoid the stun. And
it's a TP.
Just run away. Yeah, gets the TP.
Okay.
Big thumbs up. You're spending some time while KT have Baron buff, and okay, we're just gonna go for a little macro rotation here. Try to use the last of their Baron buff and take down this turret.
And the way this should go is KT use their overwhelming gold lead to just force a they have Baron.
Hello? Okay.
I don't know about that one.
Well, Kingen's here. And now, they're coming in. That's a nice big wombo combo, but Zhonya's available. They're going to burst down Dove, and that is a big win, as in they go. The moonfall is huge, and the turnaround comes in from KT. That's what we were expecting, and they do finally make it work, as maybe now you can kill Kingen? Perhaps not, as he will survive yet again in a scene we have seen many a time. KT, they will take game number 3. Only took them an extra 26 minutes from the last time they were on the Nexus. Doran with a little celebratory death, as KT will take the 2-1 and